Hello, and welcome to Live on Lanier, a monthly podcast brought to you by the Board of Directors of the Lake Lanier Association. This month's show is a recording of our first ever Lunch and Learn program for the love of Lanier. The program was recorded on July 25th at the new Lake Lanier Association offices in Gainesville, Georgia. Lake Lanier Association would like to thank everyone who participated. We'd especially like to thank our Executive Director, Victoria Clevenger, and our Communications and Membership Coordinator, Jacqueline Gould, for the great job they did at putting the whole show together. The feature of this month's program, For the Love of Lanier, is the Clean Lakes Pledge. If you'd like to learn more about the Clean Lake Pledge, go to lakelanier.org and the Clean Lake tab. This is our first attempt at recording a meeting, so we ask for your patience in the audio quality, but assure you there's a lot of valuable information, so we invite you to stay tuned all the way to the end. So again, welcome to Live on Lanier, brought to you by the Board of Directors of the Lake Lanier Association. For more information on all of our programs, as well as memberships with the Lake Lanier Association, please find us at lakelanier.org. That's lakelanier.org. We'll be right back with our show after this.
Lake Lanier Association's initiative for a clean lake preserves and protects Lake Lanier for everyone with programming and education resources like our annual shore sweep cleanup, our Adopt a Lake water testing program, erosion and sedimentation monitoring, abandoned dock and boat removal, and our Clean Lake Pledge. Learn more about the work of the Lake Lanier Association or how to become a member, a volunteer, or to donate at lakelanier.org. First ever in our new office, I'm trying to get this set up. First ever in our office, Lunch and Learn. So we're really happy that you guys are all here, and we appreciate you taking the time to join us so that we can kind of kick things off in the office with what we intended it to be for in the first place, which is having our members in the community here. It's not only a place for us to work and execute our programs, but it's also an opportunity for us to open the doors and invite our members in and offer educational opportunities. So one of our focuses for this meeting is all about the Clean Lake Pledge. So are you guys familiar with that as one of our programs that we offer? You guys familiar with the Clean Lake Pledge? Awesome. So we want to dive into that because it's something that is so easy and tangible and practical for everybody to put into use, whether it's things around your boat or dock or yard, whatever it is, all things that we as individuals can do to preserve and protect Lanier. So before we get into that, I did want to allow each of the board members that are with me here today to give an introduction and share a little bit with you about the programs that they oversee. All of our board members kind of have like a niche that they really focus on, but they also have a hand in everything that we do. So you're going to hear them speak about a program that they get to focus on, but they also are experts in the Clean Lake Pledge as well. So we're really happy that you guys are all here to join and hear from each of them today. And I hope you guys enjoyed your very delicious lunches from Lenny's Subs. Those were provided courtesy of them in coming, and in a little bit we'll do a giveaway as well. That's funny. Okay, so Bev, would you like to kick us off and introduce yourself and your program?
Bev Nicholls. I've been on the lake about 30 years, but I've been involved with the Adopt a Lake program since '02. And the program's been going on since 2000. And we have one lady that still tests for 24 years. Wow. And we test every month on the lake. We test 27 sites. There's about 20 of us volunteers that go out every month, including winter, which is sometimes lots of fun when it's spitting snow, because people are in their own boats and are off their own docks. But we keep an eye on the lake, and we use the information we get, and we collect a sample that we filter and send the filter paper to Gwinnett Water Lab to have it analyzed for chlorophyll. They do these for us for free, which would cost us $40 a piece if we had to pay for it, and we do 27 a month every month. So anyway, and the lake this time, last month, we do use that also with the Secchi reading, which we have in the top up there. It measures clarity. And so we take those pieces of information and put them together and have an index, and we publish that every month on our website. It's called the Lake Lanier Index. And the lake is really nice and clear. I think at Bonny's site, she's getting a clarity of 17 feet this last month, or this month actually.
Yeah, this month.
Yeah.
It was really clear.
So it's really, really good. Under the bridge, I think we were at 3.5 meters, which would be about 10 feet. So it looks good all over. Any questions? I'll be here for a while.
What makes it look good? What factors are involved when it is clear like this?
I think because the lake does what we call turn, and evidently it settles out any of the chlorophyll or anything that, any silt or something, especially in the deeper areas of the lake. It's more clear in the deeper areas of the lake.
We haven't had a lot of rain up until this week.
Right.
And so there wasn't a lot of runoff either. So that's going to help clarify the lake too. So.
Our cove just gets solid mud.
Solid, yeah.
Oh, yeah, when
Runoff
you get a heavy
runoff
rain.
is bad, yeah.
So the water samples that are collected and brought here? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, and then we take the samples to the Gwinnett Water Lab, which is down near Mulla, Georgia.
Okay.
Supposed to be a couple words. That's a tough act to follow.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, did I take too long?
My name's Terry Morrisey. I've been on the lake about 28 years. I live over in Young Deer. Also associated with Southeastern Dock Supply. You may have heard our name somewhere, hopefully. Been on the board here just about a year exactly right now. So what a great group of individuals we have here to work with. Really make it enjoyable and for quite a worthwhile cause. I've been asked to head up a group called the ADDV, which is the Abandoned Dock and Derelict Vessels. I'm sure you've all seen your share at some point or another. The bottom line is the Corps of Engineers basically raises their hand and say, we don't have any funding for this. And next place, somebody's seen something on the lake that needs attention. Their next step usually is to reach out to us to see what we can do. And we've got the wheels in motion right now to try and formulate a permanent type plan. Right now, it's kind of a case-by-case basis where we have to go through some red tape, if you will. But we're working on getting that plan together right now. And that's kind of where we stand. So,
Great.
any questions? I'm sure some will come up as we progress, so feel free to ask. Mr. Joe.
Docks approximately are there on the lake that are abandoned? I mean, is there an average or something like that?
That changes every day.
Every day it's a new number.
I just had a conversation with Victoria about that last meeting, and I think right now we've got about 13 to 15 files, and that could be boats as well. We didn't really break it down either one right yet, but there's 13 to 15 projects that need attention as we speak.
What about derelict vessels on docks? Because, you have vessels, you got batteries, you got fuel.
Mm-hmm.
In my cove, we have two homeowners whose boats are underwater. I mean, one of them's a sailboat. This is the third time it's bottomed. They've raised it twice, but, whether the bilge isn't working or, it just fills up and it sinks again. Then we have another boat that's been sitting there for almost 2 years, underwater. So you've got a fuel tank, you got batteries. What's the approach? It's not abandoned. The description of derelict can mean many different things, and we often associate that. I know Bonnie and I worked probably 8-9 years ago where it was a abandoned derelict boat in our cove. And but these are on people's docks. So what's the interaction between the association and the counties and the Corps of Engineers in terms of addressing on-dock derelict boats?
Without doing a deep dive, I mean, you hit on the key word there, and that's abandoned. I mean, technically, what you've just described belongs to a homeowner or someone. Legally, we really can't do anything about that. My first suggestion would be to engage the Corps because that is their
Actually,
identifiable homeowner
it's a
or boat owner.
DNR. It's a DNR thing. It's a DNR thing, and what we need to do is when you have stuff like that, what we need to have happen is you need to do a see something, say something, and then we need to just ship those off to the Corps and the DNR and say, hey, here's one for you. Go do your thing. And what the DNR normally does is they'll go there and they'll actually knock on the person's door and stuff and say, hey, you got to do something about your boat. You got this much time. And they'll fine them and stuff if they actually get off there and go there and knock on the door and do what they're supposed to do. But it's just, once again, there's so few people for so many docks and so many boats that it's getting their attention. And hopefully, because, Terry is really on top of all this, that we can, send it off to the right people and get somebody to care.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good program.
Each one is a
It
case-by-case basis.
Yeah,
There's
there's
not
no-
a
Everything
standard
is
plan.
unique.
Yeah, it's unique. Everything
We
is
hope to
different.
get to that point, but right now it's a case-by-case.
I'd love to see, one thing I would love to see in the future, we have Billy in here, which is good, is that the counties, because, they are making money off the docks, you all pay taxes on your docks, that they should step up and maybe do something for dumping or whatever. Maybe there's some ordinance or something that we can use to spur on some owner to taking care of that kind of a problem, besides just waiting for the DNR or the Corps to do something about it. So, that's just something we need to look into.
Electric's involved.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely, but then we have a double-edged sword, right? Then they're gonna say, we don't like this on your dock or whatever. It's a double-edged sword.
But you do, when your counties do have compliance officers.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Part of the marshal service is to go around and ensure that, you're not dumping.
You're not supposed to have a truck without an engine sitting in your front yard. I mean, it's the same kind of thing as the way I look at
Stacks
it.
of tires in your
Right,
yard.
yeah.
Yeah,
so-
because environmentally, there has to be.
Yeah.
No, it's bad. Environmentally, it's terrible. I mean, like you said, oil, gas, batteries, all that kind of stuff is underwater, so it's not good. And it's our drinking water. I mean, come on. But yeah, totally. But report it. The greasy wheel kind of thing, and that's what we have to just do with a lot of this stuff, is just get annoying, and eventually they'll do something. But you're right, they have no money, so that's always the excuse for everything. Yeah, no money.
I said it worked for our streets.
Yeah, I'm Bonnie Putney. I've been around forever. This rocks were soft or whatever when I started. I'm in charge of Shore Sweep, which we do every September. It's coming up on the 21st of September this year. Basically, our big goal is to try to clean the lake up as much as possible. There is no other cleanup on the lake that besides Shore Sweep, so it's the time to get it done. We actually open up advanced sites 2 weeks in advance so that people that can't work on the day of Shore Sweep, and there's not a Georgia football game, so don't even give me that. You can take your stuff to one of these advanced sites, and we will pick it up on the day of Shore Sweep and take it to one of we're going to have 14 locations this year. We're adding one at Little River this year because we've had a lot of people talk to us about they want to be able to do something up there, and it's really far to get to one of the other sites, so we're going to open one up there. Last year we got 80 tons of black floats basically off the lake because of a lot of the floats were high and dry last year, and they're all floating around now. I expect this to be a record-breaking year for picking up trash. So I hope all of you can join us on if not on the 21st, the 2 weeks before, and help us try to get all this trash off the lake. Questions?
Where do those floats go to?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, they go to the landfill, and that's one of the biggest problems that we have is the fact that they cannot be recycled at this point. We've really explored into that and tried to see if there's something else that we can do with them. Hall County won't even take them anymore because they take up way too much space in the landfill. So they have, when at Shore Sweep, we actually have a separate dumpster just for floats. So they take them to up to Clarksville or something to get rid of them because they can't put them in their own landfills. We would love to be able to recycle them. The problem is they become water gets in them and you can't just dry them out or anything. That you're going to have to either crush them or shred them or do something like that. If we could get all the water out, we could recycle them. There's companies like Nexus Fuels that will take it and burn them, but until we solve the water problem, it's going to a landfill. And they weigh like 800 pounds a piece. I mean, it's ridiculous.
There are companies that will take that styrofoam.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's companies that will take the plastic and the styrofoam. They will not take the water. And the water is the problem. And if we can figure out some way to get the water out of the floats, and it won't, you can't drill holes and let them dry, or that won't work. If the problem is, remember back when they used to have white foam on the docks? It was a really dense foam that they had on those white floats. Well, when they went to the encapsulated stuff, somebody in their infinite wisdom said, oh, well, the foam doesn't need to be as dense. It can be, looser weave and cheaper. Well, the problem with that is the water actually gets driven into the styrofoam then, and there's no way to get it out unless you drive it out. So that kind of limits what you can do with those floats, and that's the reason why we have to take them to landfills and stuff, because we can't get the water out of them. Well.
So understand, if you have a refloat job and you see that bill for disposing of the floats, you're paying to dispose of water. That cost is passed on to us, and that's what they charge us. So we're paying to dispose of water.
And if you do that, tell them you want a picture of them loading those floats onto their truck, because it's really amazing to me when you're going out on the lake and suddenly you see like a little flotilla of floats coming down the lake, and there's like 6 of them together. I mean, I know they didn't say, hey, come over and join me. We're going to go for a trip down the lake. All those floats were released at one time. And it's very aggravating to me to think that we are spending our money, our time, and our resources to dispose of stuff that somebody already paid to have disposed of. And it didn't happen because they just let it go and they didn't want to deal with it. So it's up to us as homeowners and dock owners to have a lot of control, have control over the people you deal with and make sure that they're doing what they tell you they're going to do. Same thing with docks, we don't want to take one and take it around the corner and leave it there after you pay for disposal. So make sure people are doing what they tell you they're going to do. Any questions about shore sweep?
So I guess
Yes.
you tried like a dry kiln, like they put wood in,
Yeah.
dry for furniture, that won't work?
Oh, it might, but the size of the kiln and the amount of floats that we're talking about, it would be expensive at the best. The Nexus talks about putting a dryer in for us for that purpose, but they're not, after COVID, they said, no, they're not going to do it. So anyways.
All right, well, I'm Victoria.
Just a suggestion, and I could do it too, but if you check with some of these people that make fire insulation that they spray on steel frames and that.
Oh, yeah.
They recycle that styrofoam all the time. They used to put trailers around and collect it, but I don't know that the water is an issue, but that may be something if you check with some fire protection people that actually make.
I'll be happy to, but I think the water is an issue no matter who we deal with. It's an issue. I mean, they have to get rid of it. So they have to get the water out before they can do it. So how are they going to do that, whether they shred it or whatever? Then they have a bunch of water. And that was we talked about shredding, and there's so much wastewater that would come off that they have to figure out how to handle the wastewater. So
In the mud.
and
Silt,
whatever,
stuff
all of
like
it. Yeah, I mean, it's just
Not clean.
It's a mess.
Not a clean process.
Right.
I just have one comment. Without
Sure.
the shore sweep, I hate to see what this lake would look like.
Oh, can't even
thank you.
imagine.
I appreciate that very much. Yeah. I am nothing but an air traffic controller is the way I like to look at it. Okay, I just
You're a really good one,
I'm
too.
doing this. It's all up to all of you and our captains, our wonderful captains. A lot of them have been with us for 20 years, being a captain at a site. Without all those people and all you guys actually moving this stuff to the sites, it wouldn't get done. So it's a joint effort by all of us that love the lake. So yeah, thank you.
Yes.
The first 10 years, Bonnie was out there picking it all up because I was with her.
Oh, yeah, yes, she did.
Well, that was the fun. That was when I had fun. Now it's not.
The logistics is a little bit
Yeah, the
scarier
logistics. There's a
now.
lot of logistics.
Well, I'm Victoria Clevenger. I'm the executive director. I was promoted to that position in November, but had been with the organization since February of 21. I was previously the communications and membership coordinator, so I know through that role I got to meet lots of you at our events like the Shore Sweep or the annual member celebration. So I'm really excited that all of you are here today to hear from our board members. And I did want to take a moment to acknowledge the team that's in the back. We have a few of our board members and our other staff here that I would love for you guys to get a quick introduction from. So if y'all don't mind to at least just say your name and what you do, and then we'll kick it off.
Well, I'm Billy Powell. Live and work in Gainesville, and I'm also one of the Hall County Commissioners. I've been a board member now for about 6 years.
At least.
Yeah.
There you go.
But thoroughly enjoy serving in the capacity of board member.
I'm Glenn Martin. I'm the owner and operator of Martin Docks here down the road, and my family and I have been involved with the Lake Lanier Association since it was founded by my grandfather and others back in the 1960s. So really happy to be a part of working with the association, and love doing Shore Sweep with Bonny, and been doing that for the better part of 30 years.
I'm Kirby Shyman. Been on the lake since 2000 when I came to be general manager over at Aqualand. And very happy to be raising our grandkids right here in the area. They're all lake kids. Been a Shore Sweep person and now War Hill Park captain for quite a while. And I'm working on our podcasts and videos, of which we were going to have 3 cameras today, but we have 1. I do want to piggyback real quick on something Bonnie said, though, about when you're having stuff taken away. I used to work in the float business, and I promise you, we've got some of the best dock companies on the east of the Mississippi right here on Lake Lanier. And they've been real active in our club or in our organization as well.
Yes, they have.
So when you have those projects, use those guys. If somebody's giving you a deal that's too good to be true, it is too good to be true.
Right.
And it's not good for the lake. So we've got quality people that'll do it right, and we know in our hearts they'll do it right. It helps a lot if you support them and just do it that way.
Well said,
That's
Kirby.
my own personal opinion. That's not the opinion of the board.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well said.
Thanks, Kirby.
Everyone, I'm Jacqueline Poole. I'm the new membership and communications coordinator. I know I've already emailed with quite a few of you, so I stepped into Victoria's old role, and I'm very happy to be here. If you ever have any membership questions, I'm your girl. So, very nice to meet you.
Awesome. Well, we're going to get started. In your packets, there are 2 slides regarding the programs that you heard us just speak about, including the index, which Bev mentioned is a part of the water testing program, and that is updated on our website every month with the latest metrics. So we're going to get started with the Clean Lake Pledge, which is the reason we invited you guys all here today. So if you aren't familiar, actually the month of July is called Lakes Appreciation Month. And we came up with this idea of for the love of Lake Lanier, because when you love something, you want to take care of it and be good stewards of it, which we felt like was a perfect parallel to our Clean Lake Pledge and the very tangible things that each of us can do at home. And more than that, it's also a really great way to engage in conversation with your neighbors or those that live around you on the lake. Just because you're doing the right thing doesn't mean that the lake isn't going to be hindered by your neighbor who may not be. So at the end of today's session, if you don't have one already, we do have some yard signs that we would love to send you all home with, so you can display those proudly, and hopefully it becomes an opportunity to start a conversation with your neighbors and those that are around the lake near you. All right, so we're going to get started with our yard grounds and protection section. I'm going to turn it over to our board members who are going to talk about some of the best practices regarding that.
I think a lot of this is probably common sense. I mean, anything that you put on your yard is going to ultimately end up in the lake. And, you know, I have a lot of neighbors that want a nice, beautiful green yard, and I get that. But then they get upset, you know, when they spray for mosquitoes and spray for bugs and do all these things, and why they don't have any lightning bugs, as an example. Lightning bugs are ground dwellers. So if you start putting stuff on the ground, you're going to be killing off the beneficial bugs along with the ones you don't want. So you have to be very careful about what you apply on your in your yard, work you do around your house, making sure that you don't have dirt going down into the lake. If you work on anything like your boat or automotive, you need to make sure that you take care of that, those fluids, and make sure they don't end up in the lake either. Right now, dirt is our biggest enemy. I mean, if anything's going to kill this lake, it's going to be dirt. We don't have any big manufacturing plants or anything like that to pollute the lake. It's us that is polluting the lake, and it's with dirt. And so anything that you can do as a homeowner to keep that dirt from going into the lake, whether it be putting riprap out or putting up silt fence if you decide to till up a garden or something, is really.
Buffer.
I'm sorry?
A natural plant buffer.
Yeah.
Native plant buffer.
And the last thing is the core property. We all want to have great views. We all would love to have that beautiful, perfect view. Well, not all of us are given that perfect, beautiful view, and there's a reason why that there is a buffer around this lake. It's to protect the lake. And all those trees and all those bushes and all that grass and all that whatever vegetation there happens to be between you and the lake is going to slow that water down. It's going to go down into the water table, and it's going to slowly release into the lake as clean water. And that's really critical. People don't understand how, it used to be, if we got rain like we had this last week, it would take the lake a week to come up. Notice it comes up instantaneously now. That's because all the buffer's going away around the lake. People are picking at it, and they're picking at it, and eventually all the water just runs right into the lake and just runs right off. It never soaks into the ground. We don't get that groundwater return, so it isn't gently sending the water into the lake, it's just rushing in there. So keep that in mind. As much vegetation as you can have around your yard and around the lake, the better, because all that is filter, and all that's going to keep your water around your dock and at your area nice and clean, or as clean as it could possibly be. And I think there's doing the septic every 4 years, I think is important. I know a lot of us buy a house and we have no idea where the septic tank is, let alone how big it is. And suddenly we have a bunch of people over for 4th of July, and then suddenly you got a problem. So it's something you really need to know about. If you don't know where your septic tank is, find it. Make sure it gets pumped out on a regular basis, because it really protects the lake, and it protects you. I mean, it protects your yard, it protects your pets, all that kind of stuff. All that, anything like that goes into the lake is going to create algae and pollution, and that's one thing that we do not want to see in this lake.
Anybody have anything they'd like to add?
Questions?
I have something to add.
Oh, sorry.
From North Carolina, we have a very good description of how a septic tank works and what you should do to keep it up. I think they're right back there near the little mini refrigerator.
Yeah. That's a good idea. We do have a flyer on that.
Yeah.
Good.
So we have a really good, so please take one of those.
Well, Bonnie, if anybody doesn't know where their septic tank is, they can go over to the county building, environmental on the 3rd floor. I do it for my wife, who's a realtor all the time.
Oh, yeah,
Anytime she has a listing on a house.
Yeah.
And they have a layout when that was installed and where it's located.
It surprises me that somebody's going to spend $1.5 million on a house and not even know where their septic tank is, or whether it's been serviced or not, or whatever. So, it's kind of a critical thing when you think about it.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's a great ad.
Also, something I'd like to quickly.
Any conversations with the fertilizer people that come out and do your lawns?
Oh, I've had some conversations with those people. It used to be that they were not, they were kind of, the stuff was, very benign. And it's getting more and more, I don't want to say toxic, but more and more chemicals are being added into the mix, because people don't want mosquitoes, and they don't want slugs, and they don't want this, and they want that, that kind of thing. So what people are putting on their lawns is, it's not good for the lake. Let me just put it that way. If it's going to kill bugs, if it kills mosquitoes, it's going to kill the bees. It's going to kill the butterflies. It's going to kill everything. There's no way to just say, oh, it's just going to kill the mosquitoes, unless you throw in dunks in water, which works perfectly. So I'm not a fan of spraying yards around the lake, but that's just me.
One more comment on septic tanks. About 20 years ago, they were using a product called Easy something. We just had to completely replace our whole septic lines, because what they were doing, instead of just a drainage, they had a pipe that was surrounded, it reminds me of just what you described, with styrofoam and then a plastic covering. And what happened over the last few years that they weren't aware of, even though it was promoted all around, it was getting saturated, and it became like an insulator instead of letting it drain out. And once it fails, you can't do anything about it but just start over.
That sounds just lovely, yeah.
We spent $20,000 on that, and the new systems, of course, just have the gravel and a pipe over it.
Yeah.
And it's, you know,
Yeah.
much less geared towards technical problems, but we had to put a pump in to get it to that plan. So just especially as a realtor, anything that was done around 2003 was really a faulty product that everybody was using at that time. So you may see more and more failures in the next few years just because that particular system is becoming obsolete.
Wow.
Bonnie, what are you seeing on this? I don't have a problem. The big thing I see on all the community pages, you know, the lake pages, is the spiders. Everybody wants to kill the spiders on their docks. Well, if you spray a chemical on your dock, it's going to end up in the lake, right?
Yeah.
Even if you spray it on the frame,
Yeah,
the minute it rains,
yeah.
it's going to run into the lake. Yeah, I'm not sure what chemical they are using, but to your point, if it's a chemical and it's killing the spider, it's, you know,
It's
even
not
if it just
good.
kills the spider and the spider ends up in the lake, well, then the fish eats the dead spider.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
so-
it's the circle of life.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I don't know if there's been any-
I don't know. Well, you know, there's spider diaper and things like that that are non-chemicals that will get rid of the spider problem, or it's called a broom. You know, I mean, seriously, but anything like that people are spraying around, and you know, there's all these new boat cleaners too. I mean, which Terry will get into, with acid washes and whatever that are really bad. So
That's a good point, because I use Spider Free around the lake, the company.
Yep.
And they spray our dock. It used to be once a month, now it's every 3 weeks.
yeah,
Because of the spiders. But right after this, I'm gonna make a call to see exactly, because
What
it's a very good point.
yeah.
It does do a good job controlling the spider droppings, but never gave the thought that what's possibly could be in there.
Right.
Because they're out in this lake, spider free.
Oh yeah, they're all over the place. Yeah, I know a lot of people use them.
Good point.
Yeah, and you're swimming in it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, if you use your dock for anything but just taking your boat in and out, which is what the Corps wants, you're actually swimming in it, so.
We have one back here.
Unfortunately, you know what's gonna happen, Bonnie, is people are gonna do more mosquito spraying because they just discovered 20 cases of dengue fever.
Oh, yeah. You know, and I am not a fan of mosquitoes like anybody else, but I go around my yard and make sure there's no standing water and, you know, do all the things that you need to do to get rid of mosquitoes. And you can do it, so you can spot do it, as opposed to covering your whole property with mosquito spray. Yeah, and spray, you know, seriously, there's ways to do it without, you know, professional people coming in 3 times a month.
Some plants that are supposed to help.
Oh, yeah, like citronella and stuff like that. I don't know, you know.
I mean, the live plants. I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
live
maybe if there are some and there's any technical.
If you attract birds and things to your property, they'll eat
Bats
the
and
mosquitoes.
birds.
A bat
Bats are
will eat the
wonderful.
mosquitoes,
More
yeah.
mosquitoes in the night.
Consider a program that promotes adding plants to get rid of mosquitoes and try to take that natural approach and then promote it to
Yeah.
with the association.
It's the standing water. That's your
The
biggest
standing
thing.
water's
You
the
want to
big
get
thing,
instant
yeah.
mosquitoes, even just in the last couple of days, I traveled out of town last weekend and I used a bucket to water some plants, and you know, we had rain over last weekend. I came back on Monday, there was already mosquito.
Yeah.
It was only
7 days.
water.
An inch, so an
Yeah.
inch is all it takes.
So-
And then, you know, if you have something with a cover on it, and it gets a little bit of water on there, mosquitoes. So right now is a good time to go around your yard and find any standing water and get rid of it, because that's what breeds mosquitoes.
You have 7 days before those become mosquitoes. Yeah, the larvae become mosquitoes, which isn't very long.
Move on to the next slide.
Okay. All right, we'll keep it rolling. And we'll do Q&A at the end as well if you think of a question after we've moved on from a section. All right. This section is boat and dock equipment and maintenance, and obviously Terry, being one of our experts in dock maintenance and repairs, we wanted to let him lead this section for y'all.
So as Bonnie mentioned, a lot of this is common sense for everybody, but when you have 10,000 plus docks on the lake, just on Lanier, a little bit from every individual adds up to quite a bit. So we just ask everybody to be very cognizant about what their small actions, which seem harmless, are doing to the lake in the big picture. For example, like when maybe you're staying in your dock, If you go out there with a roller on your wood dock, all that excess is draining down into the water with a paint roller. If you go out there with one of those pump sprayers and try and spray it real quick, all that overflow is going into the lake. We recommend using a brush, labor intensive, but it's the safest method to protect your wood and to protect the lake at the same time type deal. Same thing with cleaning your boats. Recommend using an environmentally safe cleaner. Stay away from the acids and stuff like that. But once again, little bitty drops of stuff hitting the lake add up over time. One of the things we see quite often is that, once again, the do-it-yourselfers who carry the 5-gallon buckets of gas or cans of gas down, and you start pouring, and all of a sudden drips comes down. Take that nozzle and give it as tight a squeeze as you possibly can. You're not going to break it with your own hand strength. I've never broke one by squeezing it. And that extra 1/16 of a turn makes a big difference to keep the gas from dripping into the water. As far as maintenance on your dock goes, there's still stuff that still gets in the water from that perspective. I've recently written an article about spraying like your cable winches and stuff to keep them free. You do that all year round. There's really not a season to do that. But when you're spraying stuff like that, I recommend you get a piece of cardboard behind that to protect the overspray on that, like a WD-40 or white lithium grease that kind of sticks, in my opinion, a little bit longer than WD-40. WD-40 is kind of short term. Lithium grease is a little bit long term, but it's the same thing in the environment. One's short term, one's long term. So pumping toilets, stuff like that. Once again, common sense. Think about your one individual contribution to the downfall of the lake adds up quite a bit. So and this last one here, if you take your boat to another body of water, make sure it's completely full of vegetation. I don't know, but I imagine you've all heard about the snail invasion that's started here on Lake Lanier. Well, that started from basically one infestation or infection, if you will, from some source. Maybe somebody can speak a little bit better to that. But it started as a very small problem, and before it gets headed off, it's going to be a very big problem. So in summary, it's common sense what we can do, protect the lake in the long term. Everybody's little bit adds up to quite a bit of the safety, health, and well-being of the lake. Any questions? Yes, sir.
The dam buoy that we put in the boat absorb all that moisture all winter long. When it absorbs all that moisture, is that liquid, something that's going to be a chemical that you don't want to dump in the lake?
Salt.
Yes.
Salt.
Put it in a gallon jug and
The rule of thumb, if you don't know, get it out of the water. If you don't know, no question about it.
Yeah, bilge water is a huge, people just don't think about it, but think about it. Gasoline, oil, whatever, everything, you name it, it's in that bilge water.
Beer.
Have you seen anything with these on the boat cleaning services where they're, pull your boat up onto them and then they're cleaning the bottoms with the brush?
It's all environmental.
Are they using
safe
any
stuff.
chemicals on those?
As far as I know, they wouldn't be in operation if they were.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would certainly hope so.
Do you want to speak to the invasive species for a second, a little bit more, Bonnie?
That's how invasive species get in the lake or get into any body of water, is they get transferred from one to another to another to another. And we've been really lucky up to this point because we don't have zebra mussels and we didn't have all these other creepy things that they have up in the Great Lakes and stuff. If we get zebra mussels, we got a huge problem. This lake is used for drinking water. Those zebra mussels, they'll foul up those water intakes so fast, and then it's going to cost more money for us to have water because they're going to have to be constantly cleaning all those intakes. Plus the fact they all stick to all your docks and your boats and all that kind of stuff, and they're sharp and they're hard to get off. It's not a good thing. So if you go take your boat to another body of water, whether it be a jet ski or a boat or even a kayak, make sure that you get it clean before you bring it back into Lanier, because anything can hitchhike. And all it takes is a couple of hitchhikers and we got a problem. That's what happened with the snails. That's why we have snails now.
Hydrilla is also a problem.
Vegetation.
Vegetation's also.
There's places
an
on
equal
the Chattahoochee that have so much hydrilla that there's very little surface water left anymore because of the huge mats of hydrilla from people throwing aquariums aquarium stuff into the river, into the Chattahoochee River. So do not do that. Don't flush your goldfish. I'm sorry. Don't do it. Or any of the vegetation from the tank. Yeah, I mean, just don't do that.
What's the long-term effect of these snails?
We don't know. We have no idea.
Even the DNR doesn't really have a whole lot to say about it just yet.
Yeah,
We'll find out.
We will find out, yeah, at some point.
Gary, isn't there still a bilge sock product you can wrap around your bilge pump that'll let the water flow through, but it'll filter out oil and gas and all the other little things that get in there?
I'm not familiar with that. That could exist. I'm not familiar.
Don't
know.
Okay.
Haven't seen that one. Sorry.
I saw another hand in the back.
In New York and Lake George, which is about the same body, you can't bring a boat in or a jet ski in from another state without having it thoroughly cleaned and washed and you pay for
Wow.
it. Then you get a sticker. Why
Before you
can't,
can even
before
launch it.
you can launch it. You can't even get into a launch site unless you have that.
Well, they must have a lot of personnel and stuff to control that.
Yeah.
And that's the
Right.
problem with Lanier is, look at all the boat ramps we have and
Yeah.
all that. I mean, it would be very, very difficult for them to enforce something like that. It's just a logistical thing.
What they do upstate New York is they have a state operated at several places on the lake.
Yeah.
Naturally, you couldn't put them on all the ramps and the marinas, you just can't do it.
Right.
There is stations around the lake sponsored by the state, and you go there, get them flushed out, everything, which is a good thing, because they do have a big problem with.
Yeah, yeah.
They get a sticker. Okay, here's the thing is, if you're out and about, you got the LGs and the other patrols on there, and they see that you have your numbers from out of state, if you don't have that sticker, they are gonna pull you over.
Right.
Oh, good.
So you can, to even as big as Lake Lanier is, which is the same size as the Lake George, if they were able to have a couple of areas, but I don't know, that's a little tough.
Yeah, it's not,
That takes some legislation.
it takes legislation,
And
it's gonna take a
personnel.
lot of money,
Yeah.
I mean, the Corps already has a $6 million shortfall on recreation, which is taking care of the boats and the ramps and
Right.
us and all that. So I don't, I
It's a
mean,
good thing, but it'd be very tough.
it would be very tough. So that's why we're doing things like this, is to try to educate people and say,
Right.
look, I don't care if you go to the, Flint River or this river or that river, but if you come back to Lanier, clean your boat,
I agree that it's about education.
That's-
Because
It is.
this is the first I'm hearing about this.
Yeah.
And I work on the lake.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's a lot of people who innocently
Mm-hmm.
do that.
Yeah.
Like guests that come to our house from other states. I have never said, make sure your boat is clean.
Well, I mean, there may be something that we should add to like VRBO legislation or something, because there's a lot of those people, there's a lot of stuff like that happens out there where, somebody comes from another state because they want to be on Lanier and they bring their boat with them and they stay at a dock. And so, yeah, I mean, it's an education thing.
And the rental things, and people renting vacation rentals on our lake, and they bring their boat.
Right,
Places.
yeah.
I never knew about this.
Yeah, well, you could, so realtors can help us spread the word, yes.
That's the point of today's
That's the
meeting.
point of today's meeting,
We'd
yeah.
like you guys to ask you guys
Be
to be
advocates.
ambassadors, and if people have questions that come up that you're not able to answer from information today, have them reach out to us. That's what we're here for. That's what we volunteer our time for, because we're all passionate about the safety, health, and well-being of the lake.
Yeah, please.
So if you have an inboard boat, you can go on Amazon or a dozen different places and get a really expensive, they're like a tube sock. What you do, you just wrap it around your bilge pump and leave it in the hull of your boat. And it may not help with the snails and some of the things we're talking about, but if you do get some grease or oil in your bilge and it's sloshing around, instead of it pumping over the side, it can potentially filter through that sock before it pumps out, but it doesn't affect your bilge pump's ability to keep your boat dry. So we used to push them a lot in the marina world. They're a neat product. Like you say, every drop at a time that doesn't get in the lake is a good thing. So that's what a bilge sock is.
Thanks, Kirby.
Yeah.
All right.
How much
well,
are they?
They started about $12.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was just Amazon,
Those pig socks are pretty cheap, yeah.
Awesome. We're going to keep it rolling, and our next section is all about things you can do while you're out on the lake. In this section, I think Bev and Bonnie would be able to speak to the most, just because they see so much when they're out there with the water testing every month and shore sweep. Obviously, trash and its accumulation we see every year. So I'm going to turn it over to you guys.
The nice thing about having all of our volunteers that test on the lake, their eyes and ears on the lake every month also. So we really can watch and see, and mostly good things. So we're really pretty fortunate. We do have all these problems, but we try to be really aware of them, and we're testing all the way from almost Don Carter Park down to the dam and up in Dawson County, in Flat Creek area that occasionally we've had a little bit of issue with, and other places. So we do watch quite a bit.
Well, one of the big things out there that are geese. Do not swim near geese, okay? I mean, I'm just gonna say that. If you go to a beach or you go somewhere and there's geese there, you go somewhere else.
Yes.
Because they are if you're worried about E. coli and any kind of dangerous stuff in the lake, they are one of the biggest contributors. Same thing with dogs. I mean, that's one of the reasons why the Corps does not allow dogs on Corps property. And it's because people do not clean up after themselves and their dogs, and all that waste goes into the lake. Besides, they want to get bit or something, but the geese are bad. They're not native, and they decided never to leave, which is the other problem. It's like, go back to Canada. But, but it's an issue. So please, if you have grandchildren or anything, and do not feed the geese.
Do not
be around the ducks and the geese. Stay away from them. Because that is a great way to get infected with E. coli, is to be around geese. Yes, sir.
One of the things we always do when we go out this park at a sandbar.
Yeah.
And our philosophy is leave it better than you found it.
The perfect philosophy.
Yay.
We have trash bags, we pick up stuff that people have.
If it wasn't for people like you guys going out there and actually picking up trash after people, or picking up your own trash, or go to an island and you just take it all with you, I can't even imagine what they would look like. We have a lot of people say, oh, you should put trash cans on the islands. And I'm like, and which trash ferries are going to go get that? Because, just logistically, it's like, that's not going to happen. So, a lot of it is visitors.
Their trash.
We had that problem already, so we don't.
It's visitors to this lake. I hate to say that. It's people renting boats, and they just don't even care.
Yeah.
So I guess it's up to us to try to not be Karen out there, but try to be as nice as possible about it, and make sure that we do get, people do take what they leave and take it back with them. If it's good to be, it's up to us, kind of thing. So
I think it's homeowners securing stuff on their docks as well. I live in a cove, over by Creek, by Old Federal, and I can't, and I'm in the back part of the cove, and we get storms like last night. There's 9 floats, 9 floats that are, sunk or half sunk in the water. There's trash barrels, there's furniture.
Yeah, that's
we
a
get
good
big
point.
storms. The stuff that just comes rolling in, and it's off people's docks.
Yeah.
So, they walk away on Sunday night when they get in their car and drive back to Atlanta or wherever they're going. And they don't think about, when the wind kicks up like it has the last few days, how easy it is to take that lawn chair or that sun chair and launch that into the water, and then we're fishing them out.
Yeah.
Because that's, and I'm not saying they're doing it on purpose. Like we see when they pile trash up, trash that's left on the islands, but. It's very important for us to secure their stuff. I'm fortunate I have one of those old Kwanzaa metal huts, grandfathered, so my stuff goes inside, and I understand, Cole would love nothing more than for that to go away, but I'll hang on to it as long as I can.
Well,
Thanks for most people having open docks, that stuff just.
all our furniture is chained to our dock for 2 reasons. One you can probably guess, because it will disappear, and the other reason is so it doesn't go anywhere. And we get. I'm on the north. I'm right at the south end of the lake, so we have big exposure. And when it's northwest, like in the wintertime and things, it's huge. It's like the ocean, and things can go away very quickly if you don't tie it down, for sure.
Bungee straps.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. Use it. Other questions? I know there's a lot of angst out there about wake boats and what's happening with the shoreline. And, I don't know what's going to happen with all that. I know they have banned them at some lakes and other places, but I highly doubt that will ever happen on Lanier. Riprap is a good thing. I mean, as much as I think it's kind of ugly and it's like, oh, you're taking away the natural and now we have all these rocks. It's protecting the lake. It really is. And that's one of the things that we're going to be doing this year is we are going to try to do another mile of riprap out there on the islands to try to keep some of the islands from melting away, because if it wasn't for that, a lot of them would be gone. So that's one of the things where your money's going to from Lake Lanier Association. And Victoria's going to give some stuff away.
Yes, we're going to go ahead and move into some closing announcements and giveaways. We welcome you guys to hang out and spend some more time with us after the official presentation. We've got plenty of food and drinks still, so we do welcome you to hang out a little bit longer and continue these conversations. But as far as the recording portion goes, we're going to go ahead and keep things moving.
Thank you for joining us for Live on Lanier, brought to you by the Board of Directors of the Lake Lanier Association. We'd especially like to thank our team of Victoria and Jacqueline for a great job on presenting our first ever Lunch and Learn, and a big thank you to all of those members of the Lake Lanier Association who joined us and participated in that meeting. We'd also have a great big thank you for board members Beverly Nicholls, Terry Morrisey, and Bonny Putney for their terrific presentations and great input throughout the meetings. Don't forget, Shore Sweep's coming up September 21st, so mark your calendars. If you've yet to join the Lake Lanier Association, well, what are you waiting for? Check us out on our website, lakelanier.org, and look into all the programs we put on, all for the benefit of Lake Lanier. If you have joined, well, be sure to check in with your neighbors and see if they've signed up as well. If not, tell them how to find us at lakelanier.org. In the meantime, on behalf of all of the board members of the Lake Lanier Association, we hope every day on the lake is your best and safest day ever. Have a great month, and we'll see you next month for Live on Lanier, brought to you by the Lake Lanier Association.